have achieved university degree, and many of them have a wide range of experience in that particular area. So our administration, Madam President, was quite comfortable with the qualification and experience of the members of the working group. In relation to part 4, the criteria used, Madam President, to select first of all, the investigation that was carried out and the marketing board was quite clear that this institution lacked a lot of managerial principles in its administration. And therefore, where this institution found itself was very unpleasant to the Grenadian people in general, and the government in particular. And therefore, it would have been irresponsible of us not to move swiftly to take the necessary action. And my good friend, Senator Sinclair, I guess is quite aware, because I'm happy to know that Senator Sinclair may have spent quite a bit of his life in that particular institution. And we all know what happened there. Madam President, when coming to selecting people, we look at the qualification. We look at the experience. We look at the skills in terms of what they offer and what they bring to the table. And we conclude that by using these criteria, we are quite happy that the members of the committee were the most suitable people to sit in the chair to do the work that we are asking them to do at this point in time. So it's based on the qualification, the experience, the skill set. I think we are quite happy, and the nation will get the kind of results that it deserves.
I thank the Leader of Government Business in the Senate and offer the floor to Senator Roderick Sinclair.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank the Honourable Member regarding the contributions for those unanswered parts. I have two follow-up questions, more for clarifications than anything else, in that, in terms of whether or not this committee ever started functioning, did it meet, etc., and based on the dire nature of the situation, whether there was any functioning of the committee meeting, advancing the work that it was tasked with. And the last part of the question originally, which spoke on whether or not there was a compensation or remuneration, and there was a yes to that answer, which I was sort of shocked, bearing in mind, Madam President, the motion presented way back when to look at the review of the MNIB. One of the factors that put the motion on hold at the time had to do with the Senate imposing some cost on the government by causing this review to take place. I was taken aback to realize that actually there is a fee being paid to the committee as presented in the answers. and as a result, as such, it would be interesting to find out what is that fee structure and how much payment might have been accrued, if not disbursed yet, but at least time on the job since the commissioning of the committee. It will be interesting query as a follow-up. And this ends my matters pertaining to this. And there's some interesting response coming in.
Thank you for your question, Senator Sinclair, and I offer the floor to Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, sometimes we have to ask the relevant question if we want the relevant answers. The question that the senator is asking, and I think number 2, whether the government, whether there is a remuneration in regards to the committee. The answer is yes.
You know that.
Well, Madam President, this is not a question that what is being asked this morning is not a question for clarification, because I think what I've presented here, Madam President, is a clear-cut answer. So this is another question that the senator is asking. Madam President, the question on whether the committee is functioning this morning? Yes, Senator. Thank you.
So,
thank you, Senator. Senator Sinclair.
So I take it, Madam President, I need to submit a new written question to get that answers to the remuneration. I would, no, because if it's remuneration, we want to know what is the cost. It's for achieving that, because that was a very important point I must note. So we can't just be spending money. Was that even budgeted for? Where is the source of the funds for that? You know, so I would submit a follow-up question on that, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sinclair. Thank you.
Item 13, personal explanation. Item 14, motions. Item 15, bills.
Senator Adrian Thomas, Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to introduce for first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled The Agreement for the Establishment of a Partnership between Member States of the Caribbean Community and the African Export-Import Bank Bill 2023.
A bill for an act shortly entitled Agreement for the Establishment of a Partnership between Member States of the Caribbean Community and the African Export-Import Bank Bill 2023.
Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, I beg to move that the relevant standing orders of the Senate be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all the stages at this sitting.
Honorable members, the question is that the relevant standing orders of the Senate be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all its stages at this sitting. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
And those of the contrary opinion say no. Ayes have it. Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, I beg to move that the second reading of the bill Madam President, it's a very, very important sitting on this particular day. It's a day, Madam President, when as a nation, we are engaging in doing business with our ancestors. It's a day, Madam President, when we have something that we can talk about that will replace where many of us like to see where we come from. And while there are many good things happening in that continent, Madam President, Africa, sometimes it's a little bit depressing to talk about the slave trade. But today we are engaging our brothers and sisters in a very positive light. And this is, Madam President, we are engaging Afrexim Bank in dealing with our brothers and sisters, not only in Grenada, but in CARICOM. Madam President, this important institution was able to reach out to our CARICOM friends, and we were able to sign an agreement with them in Barbados in an official way on the 1st of September 2022. Madam President, the engagement establishes a framework for cooperation between the African Export-Import Bank and CARICOM to strengthen trade and investment, link between Africa and the CARICOM member states. The aim, Madam President, is to facilitate cooperation and mutual support, as well as help with the promotion and financing of trade between the two regions. Madam President, it is important as the African nation, the African Union, see the need to reach out to the brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Because they have considered us, they have not let us go. They consider we in this part of the world as members of the diaspora. And therefore it is important that they reach out to us. Overall, Madam President, the agreement provides a framework for fostering closer ties between Grenada and Africa and offers significant opportunities for expanding trade and investment. Madam President, the key areas that they will be focusing on, the area of tourism and hospitality, education services, agriculture and agribusinesses, renewable energy and climate change, ICT, and culture and the creative economy. Those are areas, Madam President, that Grenada is embarking on to build a new economy that we are talking about. And therefore, any financial assistance, any financial institution that is willing to work with us, we welcome. And we are happy to move away from the traditional financial institution that has been working with us maybe for centuries, and we're still back in time. So nothing wrong, Madam President, in trying something new. And we are happy to be part and parcel, joining our brothers and sisters. In recent times, Madam President, while the initial signing among CARICOM members was done by 7 of our islands, and I like to refer to the islands as the big ocean states. In recent times, Guyana and the Bahamas have done likewise, joining Antigua and Bermuda, Barbados, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Suriname. Madam President, for many of these countries, the agreement has already entered into force. It has taken effect. And we are not here to vex with anybody for not grabbing the opportunity earlier. We are not late. And therefore, see my good friend smiling. I guess you're enjoying a glass of water, right? Madam President, by coming to Parliament today, it's a golden opportunity for we to support this very important bill. Because the fact that Grenada is a juralist state, the agreement must be incorporated into the domestic laws of Grenada through an act of Parliament to be of legal force and effect in Grenada. And therefore it is important that without any hesitation, we support and get this bill through all its stages. Accordingly, Madam President, the agreement for the establishment of a partnership between member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the African Export-Import Bank Bill 2023, it seeks to incorporate the agreement into the laws of Grenada by giving it legal force and effect. And it contains, Madam President, 5 clauses and one schedule. Madam President, Clause 1 of the bill seeks to provide for the short title of the Act, which this is bill. Clause 2, Madam President, provides for the interpretation provisions and includes the definition of terms used throughout the Act, such as agreement, article, and minister. Clause 3, Madam President, provides for the agreement as set out in the schedule to the Act to have the force of law domestically within the state of Grenada. Clause 4, Madam President, provides for supplementary agreement entered into between the parties to the agreement to be reflected in the schedule to the Act by order published in the Gazette. Number 5, empowers the minister to make regulations to give effect to the provisions of the agreement and the Act. This will allow the minister to provide for technical or procedural details necessary for the implementation of the agreement. And the schedule sets out the contents of the agreement. Madam President, this, in a nutshell, is enough justification for supporting such an important bill. But Madam President, before I conclude, I just want to highlight a few aspects of the agreement, which I think is very, very important. As I said in my opening statement, We signed on last year as a CARICOM state, CARICOM nation. And this is not an institution that just came up in a flash. I think they went way back since 1993. And it's very important to note that, because so many financial institutions, especially on the internet these days, they get carried away. But I think this institution is a reputable one, and is one we can trust. We have also come to the conclusion, Madam President, that in our country, in Grenada, with 120,000 people, it's a very small market. And wherever we can spread our tentacles. I outlined this morning the different goals that we have. The black gold, the brown gold, the green gold, the yellow gold. If we're not producing those things to get it out of Grenada, we are still making backyard gardening. And therefore, if we are thinking about exporting, if we are thinking about the region as our market, as the international community as our market, then it is best to make that connection with this very, very important bank, Madam President. Madam President, Article 2(1), subsection 2, it says to promote to the extent permissible under the establishment agreement the financing by the bank of export and import of non-traditional African goods and services of member states of the Caribbean community in any appropriate form, through extending direct or indirect credits to eligible businesses in participating states. I want our business partners and friends in Grenada to start thinking outside the box. It's a golden opportunity. It facilitates trade. It's not a question of lending you X amount of money and doing what you want with it. Sometimes you borrow a lot of money and don't put it in the productive sector. This is a golden opportunity for financing some of our productive sectors, Madam President. Madam President, subsection 4 of this very same article, insurance and guarantee service covering commercial and non-commercial risk associated with African exports and exports of member states of the Caribbean community. This is a two-way business. It's not a one-way business. Because too many times, Madam President, in our traditional way of doing business, a lot of containers come down to Grenada filled, and they're going back empty. We have to think outside the box and take this golden opportunity not only as recording it in the old traditional way as how we used to do business with other international institutions, but this is a two-way affair, a relationship that we are trying to build. Madam President, Article 2, Section 1, subsection 6, to facilitate the carrying out of market research and the provision of any auxiliary services aimed at expanding the international trade of African countries and member states of CARICOM. Market research. Only recently I had the opportunity to sit down with the ambassador from Palestine, and she indicated to me, Minister, I paid $12 for 4 seeds of nutmeg. 4. Take note of that, Senator. We sell 25 EC for 60 seeds, Madam and Mr. Senator Sinclair. About that? 60s and 80s? About $25 for 60 to 80 seeds. That's the kind of figures we're on presently. But it's selling outside there for $4, 12 US for 4 seats, so 25 US for 4 seats. We have a task in front of us, and this is a golden opportunity for us to explore new markets where we can get value for money. So rather than producing and harvesting millions of pounds for export and not producing the millionaires that we dream of, we want the millionaires to be produced here too. Madam President, this is an institution that believes, as we read it, in participation, genuine participation of all members. So it's not a question of Afreximbank sitting in Africa and determining your own destination. We have a say once we become members. And therefore, this is a very important institution in Article 6 is prepared to subject itself to competent jurisdiction whenever we have disputes. This is positive. It's not a question of the high and mighty and the third world or the people below. Madam President, we have an opportunity to sit down and have genuine discussion with an institution of that nature. And therefore, it is very, very important that we embrace such a golden opportunity where we have a voice. In wrapping up, Madam President, I want to make the point, just to re-emphasize the last one I was making. When you have an opportunity to sit down and negotiate, and you have an opportunity even to, if you have to go to a tribunal to select one of the members for the tribunal, that this is positive. And at the same time, if you have to go to the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, you have an opportunity also. Madam President, I call on every member of this House to support this important bill. By doing so, we will be able, as leaders, to guide our people, to guide them in the right direction that makes sense. And therefore, I hope by leaving here today, each one of us will be very comfortable. Thank you.
I thank the Leader of Government Business in the Senate for his presentation, and honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. All those who are of that opinion, no. Debate. Senator Neil Franklin. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I would like to start off by saying good morning to my colleagues in the House. Good morning to you and the staff of the Parliament, and good morning to the listening and viewing public. Madam President, I rise this morning to share some brief comments on the bill as presented. The Honourable Leader of Government Business was excited about presenting the bill, and I understand the rationale why. Madam President, as a citizen of Grenada, as an individual whose ancestors are largely that of African descent, I have at this time no serious or major opposition to this bill. Madam President, I think that this is the ushering in of a new age, not just for Grenada, but for the region, for the establishment of official ties in that sense with our ancestral continent, so to speak. From listening to our sister countries in the region, Barbados, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and so on, and their leaders' rationale for the support of this agreement, I have to give commendation where it's due for the move by Grenada in that direction. Madam President, from my assessment of this initiative, this agreement, I can say confidently that the agreement allows for the prospect of improvement in investments and development in tourism, renewable energy, ICT, agriculture, and the leader of government business explained a number of different areas. It also allows for the potential to establish new diplomatic relations with countries on the continent and the strengthening of existing relations with countries there. Additionally, I would like to make these two recommendations to the government. Specifically, while this is a good initiative, generally seen as a good initiative, I would like to urge on the side of caution as it relates to the terms and conditions for agreements in terms of loans and so on, for developmental reasons in our own country. Secondly, one concern that has been raised in the public is that of Article 11, the personal immunities, privileges, and exemptions, and I hope that the Attorney General can give some clarity as to the scope of that article and whatever agreements may come from there. And that is largely so to allow for some level of comfort amongst our citizens that our investments or investments made through the bank into Grenada is not one that may be detrimental in any way to us as a country and hinder our ability to move in a particular direction, Madam President. And here ends my comments on this bill. I do support.
I thank you, Senator Neelan Franklin. Senator Rahman, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to give support to this bill. I think it is, when we look at our history in the Caribbean, and we look at the fact that when most of the people of the Caribbean came to the Caribbean, they came directly across the Caribbean Sea. But even today, when we have to travel to Africa, we have to go all the way up north, perhaps to the UK or Europe, in order to come back down. So the amount of fuel that is spent from an economical standpoint, just to go up to come back down, doesn't make any sense. And so in terms of not only banking, but this bill speaks to trade. And this is what business is all about, trade and investment. And so I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to see that they also provide LC, letter of credit, guarantees and so on. And so I would like to explore further in detail what exact facilities that does the bank offer and what businesses in the regions have already taken advantage of their products so that we can look at those in Grenada and see what would apply to us, what would be best for us. But the African continent as a whole, in terms of numbers and in terms of opportunity, I mean, that is beyond our thinking for a small island like Grenada. And we do have very high quality products in terms of our cocoa. Africa produces a lot of cocoa as well. But someone mentioned to me that they traveled to visit an international buyer of cocoa. Some time ago, I was having a chat with a businessman. And he went into this room where in this large warehouse, there was a lot of cocoa being stored. And then the proprietor, the owner, or the manager of the warehouse took him into a separate room. And in that separate room, he said, this is where we have the high quality stuff, good stuff. And that's where Grenada's cocoa was kept. So we really do have good quality. It is well known on the international market, our honey as well. One of the advantages of having such diverse flora and fauna is that it has an effect on the taste of our honey and the quality of our honey. And so if we can market, if we can ramp up production, the issue for us is production. And the issue for us is packaging. And if we can, because no one cottage industry can supply adequately, consistently. So these are the two challenges that we face: production and also packaging. Marketing is easy, that's the easy part. So I'm really happy to see this step in the right direction, and I hope that other things will follow, such as travel, etc., and a greater connection between our peoples. Thank you.
I thank you, Senator Rahman. Other requests for the floor? Senator David Andrew, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Grenada's connection with the mother continent, like several of our other Caribbean neighbors, our connection has been marred and dominated by the darkness of the 400 years of the transatlantic trade. The transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, let me make sure I make that clear. Where over 15 million, reportedly 15 million, over 15 million men, women and children were victims of that system. Today though, I'm very happy that we can recognize the African continent, not just for having withstood that trauma, but for being in a place where we can actually contemplate collaboration with the African Import-Export Bank. We acknowledge, from an historic point of view, that some of the early civilizations were from Africa. We still use Pythagoras' theorem in mathematics. There are still several wonders of the world that defy routine and regular laws of physics. The pyramids still exist. And we can talk about a lot of things in Africa, but somehow our minds sometimes remain dominated by the trauma of that period of slavery. Today though, I'm happy that we are at a place where we have signed this agreement. And we can come to the population, we can come to our people to explain such. The population alone, the market access alone on the African continent, as Honorable Rahman was saying, is just mind-boggling. When you consider that we just have 100,000 people, and probably in one city you'd have a few million. I mean, I went to one conference the other day, and in one city, the number of students alone over 800,000. But I'm just saying, when you talk about the population alone and the market access, it could probably absorb everything that we can produce on this landmass if we get the trade going well. And so I'm happy that we'll have probably increased access, not only to market, but probably to cooperation, culture. Some years ago we had one of the tribes coming to Carriacou, and claiming and owning, and Senator here might be able to tell me more, the big drum as one of their cultural things, and were able to place the people from Carriacou, from Sierra Leone, right? And so I look forward to even increased cultural collaboration and identification with the mother continent. And I just know that the opportunities are potentially limitless if properly explored and exploited. And so I give full support and commendation to this bill for collaboration with the Afreximbank. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator David Andrew. Honorable Sinclair.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand to make my contribution to this significant event because we are speaking about some $1.something billion injection potential for the region, US dollars. And of course, I'm seeing this, as the rest of my colleagues, more than the money and more than the bank. The bank might be the door, but there are many more. In fact, having left school many years ago, I had to do a little research this morning to see a few things, and I was looking and realized that Africa, the internet is telling me, that is the second largest continent in the world. I didn't even realize that. And it says further that it has the second most populous country, well, continent. I can't say country because if we understand the dynamics of Africa, and this is something that we need to understand, United States of America is one place. There is no United States of Africa. Africa has over 50-something different countries that are individually managed and have its own laws and regulation. In fact, one of the biggest challenge that Africa has right now is trying to achieve the Africa Free Trade Area to enable trade among their own selves to reduce all those tariffs and challenges. So I say this to say that while we speak of going into Africa, depending on the access point, because of the whole landlocked nature of the country, as you cross borders from different country to country, there are independent regulations and issues, as is the case with the EU. And as we see with the Brexit, what has happened with the UK leaving the European Union, the whole trade logistics and documentation, all of this just changed overnight and creating a whole nightmare. I'm not saying that would happen in Africa, but I'm saying that in everything we do as a region, we have to look at those potential risks and how we manage it. So this is opening statement. I want to say further that while we are excited, we also need to have a strategy. Do we as a region, and in Grenada more specifically, have a strategy? At what stage will this strategy be developed? I want the Honourable Member of Government Business identifying key areas, agriculture, digital, ICT, and all of those areas. And I trust that those will be formed and emphasized because there will be different enabling environment, different regulations, empowerment that would have to stimulate not just organizations and businesses in Grenada, but also businesses within the African continent would also be looking for enabling environment to form partnerships or to create their own investment. In fact, as you would have seen, I think the Republic Bank of Trinidad already gone into Ghana. We don't have a bank to go anywhere. Maybe Corp Bank may look at going into Africa as our own indigenous bank. But we must note that other banks in Africa can also come. In fact, I was reading before this session some comments by the Honorable Mia Motley out of Barbados speaking about the Canadian banks are going. So what happens if Africa banks come? Well, that's the words. I'm not making that up. So the point is that again we have to manage that we're not in a gold rush, a rush into the region as others are moving out, and because it looks good, we don't strategize for our people. I'm speaking, Madam President, on a few counts in that I had the opportunity myself to go to the motherland, if you want to say that, and two significant countries. One gave me chills to land on the soils in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, says in motherland. Didn't get to go down and look at the Sasha Mane for the Rasta men and them. But I know they are thinking, what does it connect with the whole issue of the Rastafarian community, connecting back to their homeland, and all of those things. I think that we need to look and see how does that make that connect, the cultural aspect, the religious aspect. I had the opportunity whilst there also to visit the issue of the honey production. There are different tours, and I decided based on what was happening that honey was the best trip to go on. And in Africa, you know, most of the bees are Africanized. They basically have to hunt in the trees to look for the honey. Whereas in Grenada, we have a more friendly beekeeping. They actually are doing their whole honey production sometimes in like greenhouses, so they have it cultivated and manage the bees in the environment, and exporting significant amount of honey into Europe and beeswax and all of those things. So I say this to say that I don't want us to only see the money and the bank, but there are things there, opportunities for which we can target. In terms of money, I've seen the issue of M-Pesa, the mobile movement of money for not only our farmers, but just like how you have the Western Union persons moving money within the country, because some of these countries are so big and some parts are so inaccessible. So M-Pesa, using a mobile, using a phone, and receiving money and paying. So I'm saying this, that I don't want us to only look at this money coming in, but how do we leverage all of this knowledge for this country? I want to also add the issue of digital. I had the opportunity to also go to Rwanda. Rwanda has been leading Africa in digital technology. And so how do we get close to Rwanda and leverage those things back into our community? We speak a lot about renewable energy, but in my short experience in Rwanda, the issue of bicycles and motorbikes are the premier form of transportation. When it's because they want to take a taxi. Taxi is a motorbike. So I'm saying this, that when we go into these places, we need to understand, because some of those investment might even come. We speak about public transportation. Maybe some African company may decide they want to come and introduce some sort of motorbike transportation mechanism, and our country may not be prepared for that sort of culture shift. So we need to understand those things. I want to say further, Madam President, in this context, we have been playing with opportunities that boggles me. My good friend, Senator, former Senator Terry Noel, had a motion and then he left. I don't know why he left, but an important motion that he brought to the Parliament to look at the whole issue of converting the Maurice Bishop home into some sort of tourist attraction. I thought that was a very good point, and I say it in the context of Rwanda. We know that they have suffered under the whole issue of the genocide. And having been there, and how they turn a lot of the memorial sites into tourist attractions, make you go there and listen, you pay for those tours, and you leave speechless. We ourselves have a similar story in certain ways when you look at the massacre and the different killings that we have had of the leadership in this country and others. We should learn from them how they're able to heal and how they have been able to monetize those things for the country. So I say all of this, that I don't want us to only see the bank, but see the collectivism around agriculture, fishing. You know, I've seen in Rwanda, where you have like the Caribbean Agro, a massive company dealing with wheat, they basically taking the cassava and bagging and packaging cassava flour, you know, in a big factory. So I want us to not just see the money, and not just necessarily us here, but our listening public on the outside who can easily gravitate in that space. And I wanted to share that issue of tourism. You know, but Rahman make a very important point. We came west. Of course, there was no big internet to track whether they really came west straight. But why do we have to go north and then come back? You know, to go to England, go to Germany, then go into Africa. Why can't we come straight across? So these are some of the issues that at CARICOM, we would want CARICOM to start looking at to be able to maximize this sort of benefit. And the last thing I want to see on this, Madam President, because all this thing is about diplomacy. China, Asia, big country. In fact, China is the biggest trading partner in Africa, massive. And we know Grenada's relationship with the Republic of China. So we need to start connecting all of these dots and see the interlinkages. Because there is nothing wrong in a Chinese company setting up in Africa and be part of that whole African banking system and then come into Grenada in situ of the real Africans as business strategies. And then the last point I want to make is the whole issue of citizen by investment. To what extent we may see an influx of those passport seekers from the African continent in this, bearing in mind we know the value of our passport, so that we don't emphasize one area and then of course the other areas where we speak of agriculture and other productive sector and culture and arts get sacrificed in the process of money. So these are my comments, notwithstanding supporting the other comments that would have been made so far. We look forward for movements on this speedily, but have a national strategy how we will engage and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Roderick Sinclair. Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Claudette Joseph, Attorney General of Grenada. You have the floor, Madam.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning to my colleagues on both sides of the House. Madam President, I rise to give my unreserved support to the bill tabled today. And I endorse all of what my colleagues on both sides of the House have said so far about this bill. And I particularly endorse the sentiments of Senator Franklin, because this is indeed a new era, Madam President. The entry by CARICOM into this agreement with Afreximbank is, in my view, a game changer. And it is good that the agreement with Afreximbank is with CARICOM as opposed to just one country, or each country engaging in a separate and distinct agreement with the bank. It bodes well for us as a Caribbean civilization and how we see ourselves and how we see our relationship collectively with the motherland. As my brother, leader of government business, mentioned, that when we think of the motherland, oftentimes our minds are clouded by the memories of the slave trade and slavery. And oftentimes we shudder, sometimes we even well up with tears when we think of some of the hardships that our ancestors had to undergo to survive not just the Middle Passage, but the experience of slavery. And I'm particularly pleased that we, the descendants of the slaves, are able to reconnect in this way, in this era, with our brothers and sisters in the motherland. I think what we have is a coming together of the best of all of us, because we are the best. We are the survivors. We are the children of the strong ones. The weak ones didn't survive. They died on the ships during the Middle Passage, or they succumbed to the rigors of slavery. We are here because our ancestors were the real strong ones, and they survived. So the best of the motherland today is connecting with the best of the diaspora. And I commend, and I'm happy that the proprietors of the Afrexim Bank, and not just the proprietor of the Afrexim Bank, but the African Union of Nations, saw it fit to find this unique way to embrace and connect with the African diaspora, of which we form a significant part. And I am equally pleased that our government and the other regional governments are progressively thinking enough and visionary enough to embrace this initiative with the African Union and specifically the Afrexim Bank. So the agreement that was entered into in Barbados on 1st September 2022 has seen so far more than half of CARICOM already signing on. To date, we have Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, Bahamas, and now Grenada. So that's 9 of us, and there are 13 CARICOM member states. And this is in a pretty short space of time. So I know in the not too distant future, it is quite likely that all of CARICOM would have signed on to this agreement that we all enter into on the same terms. The agreement is unique in that while the Afrexim Bank is in the same nature as other international and regional financial institutions like the World Bank, the CDB, the IMF, while the bank itself, the Exim Bank of China, while the bank itself is similar to those kinds of institutions, and let me plug in the answer to your question, Mr. Senator Frederick. Franklin, sorry. I don't know why I call you Frederick. My apologies. The question you raised, I'm going to just plug in the answer here now. In relation to Article 9 of the agreement, it is one that you would find in all similar type agreements. Officials of and representatives of international organizations, whether you're talking the UN or the World Bank or the OAS or CDB or even CARICOM or so, they will enjoy certain privileges and immunities, particularly immunity from personal liability and prosecution in the exercise of their official functions. And so they are traditional, it's part of international law, where representatives and officials of international organizations are given privileges and immunities similar to those afforded diplomats. So this is basically what Article 9 seeks to do, and you will find that in any standard agreement of this kind. So it's not something that we are to be unduly concerned about as having an adverse effect on Grenada. But it's good that you ask this question. These are the questions that I'm sure the public will have. So you're doing your work. Yes. And so the difference, I was saying that while the Afreximbank is of the same kind as other international financial institutions, it is unique in that, one, it focuses not just on extending credit to governments, but it also extends credit to the private sector. So government, as well as the private sector, may directly engage the facilities or access the facilities that the bank has to offer. And apart from the need for us, by virtue of our constitutional provisions, to table the bill and have it become part of our local law, this is an additional benefit in that once it is passed in this House and becomes part of our local law, our private sector institutions may directly engage and tap into the services the Afreximbank offers. And this is unlike institutions, say, like the IMF or the World Bank, which only deal with government entities or government. The second unique aspect of this arrangement with Afreximbank is that it focuses not just on extending financial credit, but on promoting and facilitating trade, exchange of goods and services between contracting parties. And this is something that will bode very well for us. So it's not just accessing finance for tourism, ICT, renewable energy, agriculture, creative industry, etc., but also engaging in trade, export, import of goods and services relative to these and other sectors. So, I, having said those few words, will commend the bill to this Honorable House and congratulate our government and the governments of the CARICOM nations for this very bold and progressive step, which I think ultimately will no doubt bring all African peoples closer together. those on the motherland and those in the diaspora, in the Caribbean diaspora. So, Madam President, those are my contributions towards this bill, and I look forward to it being passed into law. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you. Leader of Government Business, Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, I really want to thank all the members, the senators in this House, on the other side, and my colleagues here for supporting this agreement, this bill, wholeheartedly and totally. I think it's a very significant day today for the level of support that we are gathering for this particular bill, and I think it's a good gesture and a good lesson for the general public in terms of how we go forward. In terms of how we go forward and uniting on a particular front in the interest of the country. And Madam President, it also brings to mind, it's very important to note that apart from the bank coming to Grenada, I really don't want us to see it as a missionary, but really and truly as a friend coming to work with us, because we do have the opportunity to be shareholders in the bank and to be part and parcel. I made the point this morning that this is an institution that we can participate in, work with. And the fact that you have the opportunity, a young businessman looking to, I always make point to a lot of my colleagues, we cannot afford to work for money our entire life, otherwise you will not get the time to spend it. So young guys, like Senator Quince, work until you're 55 for money. And then when you reach 55, let money work for you. So it's a good opportunity to invest in acquiring shares in that particular institution. So, Madam President, it's very important, and I once again thank the members of the Senate for supporting this very important bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Adrian Thomas. Honorable members, with the debate apparently at its conclusion now, then the question is that the bill be read a second time. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Those are of the contrary opinion say no. I've already hammered it. I preempted you. Thank you. The ayes have it, and the bill will now be read a second time.
A bill for an act shortly entitled Agreement for the Establishment of a Partnership between Member States of the Caribbean Community and the African Export-Import Bank Bill 2023.
Senator Adrian Thomas. Thank you, Clerk.
Madam President, I beg to move that the Senate resolve itself into a committee of the whole Senate to consider the bill clause by clause.
The question is that the Senate resolves itself into a committee of the whole Senate to consider the bill clause by clause. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Those opposed say no. Ayes have it.
Clause 2, interpretation.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 2 form part of the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary view say no. Ayes have it.
Clause 3, agreement to have the force of law.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 3 form part of the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary view say no. Ayes have it.
Clause 4, supplementary agreements.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 4 forms part of the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary view say no. Ayes have it.
Clause 5, regulations.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 5 forms part of the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. Ayes have it.
Schedule.
Honorable members, the schedule is before you, and the question is that it forms part of the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. Ayes have it.
Clause 1, short title.
Honorable members, the short title should form part of the bill. Is the proposal before you? All those who are of that opinion say yes or nay or aye. Those of the contrary views say no. The ayes have it. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the Senate resumes and the Chair of the committee reports progress on the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the Senate resumes and the Chair of the committee report on progress on the bill. All those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. Ayes have it. The Honorable Senate resumes. Honorable members, I have the honor to report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole Senate and passed without amendment. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to move that the Chair's report be adopted.
Honorable members, the question is that the Chair's report be adopted. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. Honorable Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time. Hearing no debate, the question is that the bill be read a third time and be passed. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. Ayes have it.
A bill for an act shortly entitled Agreement for the Establishment of a Partnership between Member States of the Caribbean Community and the African Export-Import Bank Bill 2023.
16, public business.
In the pause, as we wait on Senator St. Clair, let me, as President of the Senate, say that this is indeed a historic moment, and we pause to recognize the passage of the bill. Now to you, Senator St. Clair. Are you ready?
You reached to me already?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Senator Andrew, we will make 3 o'clock today, so don't worry. Thank you, Madam President. We on motions, public business motions. This motion was deferred from the last session, but I would want to table it and have some comments on it. And this motion, in fact, it's funny, Madam President, I was on a phone call with a gentleman, I don't even know the guy. And he recognized my voice, which is very recognizable. And he said, "Oh, you're pretty larceny, man." And I was like, I don't know, he says, pretty larceny. Maybe I'm too much time people hear me talk about this thing. But anyways, motion on the need for effective pre-larceny enforcement by government to protect our farmers and our food security. And the motion reads, whereas farmers continue to identify pre-larceny as a long-standing hindrance to the agricultural production, and whereas the legislative and enforcement mechanisms have not been effective, and whereas year after year farmers continue to lose morale and money, thus putting their livelihood, their safety, and Grenada's food security at risk, and whereas our farmers need an effective pre-larceny mechanism to protect their investment, protect their livelihood, and protect Grenada's food security. Be it resolved that the Senate supports the following, and it's 2 parts. 1, that the government reviews the current state of pre-larceny enforcement measures and provide the Senate with key plans and recommendations it will implement to improve the current situation. And 2, the formation of a committee of 3 to 5 members of the Senate to provide parliamentary support and oversight for the implementation of government's proposed plans and recommendations. That is the reading of the motion.
Thank you, Senator St. Clair. Senator Neelan Franklin.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I beg to second the motion as presented by Senator St. Clair.
Thank you, Senator Franklin.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I keep coming back, maybe we may say the word pre-larceny as a broken record, but there are different versions. This motion, Madam President, is asking us as the Senate and informing us that the Prida larceny is the single largest hindrance to our farming community. It's not just anywhere you go, you're hearing this talk. It is coming out. Farmers are, in fact, for the last, maybe, and continuing, almost only yesterday, I had a meeting with the Soursop and fresh produce exporters, and they actually are trying to figure out how they themselves can help to even if they are buying Soursop from farmers and from others, how they themselves can act to help to reduce this issue. And calling on me and say, well, you're supposed to deal with this matter and raise this matter. As I say, well, I don't know, just know, you have to start giving me free Soursop to give me energy to keep this energy going about this matter. Because Prida larceny is a major issue for our farmers. Roads is a concern, of course. We know the cost of inputs and those others are support. But when they lose their investment, you know, all they have to buy maybe their medication, to send their children to school, all of those things, to invest in a house, maybe to pay the mortgage, and they lose it. Of course, we are happy that the Prida larceny fund is set up. In fact, someone was speaking about that recently. They say, well, when the money they charge them, we don't get nothing. And I was able to say, well, the government has acted, established the fund, but the question is, where does the money to go in the fund come out? We need to be holding these thieves. A few nights ago, about after 9, a farmer called me, crying. He said, my limes are bearing again. And he's worried, he's pressurizing. In fact, he complained last year, he went to the police, nada. Police hasn't shown up today, up to now, in the Granville area. He saw some guys stealing a coconut, and he said he afraid for his life, that he had to back in a kind of way and make sure that the thief don't see him, so that his life may come under attack because he alone was in the land. One elderly lady said she have to sort of gauge when some other person is going in the land to figure out to be wrong. People shouldn't be afraid to be going into their own places. It means that we have a total breakdown of law and order. That's what it means. If people are scared to go into their own property, it means that people don't care. We could call them lunatics, we could call them however we want to call them. The fact is, persons' lives are endangered, their well-being are being affected, and the whole livelihood impacted. So, not mentioning and not addressing these matters here, it's not finding a solution. You know, last week Friday, I was driving into Grenville. See about 5 or 4 traffic wardens. They say when the traffic lights come, they don't know where they will get work, but that's a different discussion. Traffic wardens there, police there, asking me for driver's license and insurance. So I said, well, you're not asking me if I have produce in my van. You know, they say, oh, they don't tell us about that, but it's a good idea. So even they themselves even see that as a good idea, but they are not even given the instructions to do it. So this is why you even wonder what is the police high command is doing. Of course, former commissioner, well, slash, because he understand he's on pre-retirement, he may have tried, but I've said before relentlessly over and over through my presentation in this parliament that he has not done enough. and the record is very clear. There's a new commissioner in acting, and I am sending the message clear out that he make this the #1 priority, because these crimes are connected, as persons will tell you, maybe to the drugs and other social life and whatever it is, with all the other related crimes. So I'm wondering, what is the police sitting down and thinking about? Most of these stealing sometimes don't even happen in the bright day. So when productive persons trying to go to their work between 8 to 4, 7 to 4, 5 in the evening, police are checking now. But when these thieves and bandits are operating, and where they are operating, there is nobody around. So I'm trying to figure out what crime we're really trying to solve in this country. And so the question would be, if this is a priority, if this is of emphasis, then show me what you're doing. We are yet to see it. The police is a continuum, because that's what it rests, even if we call it government. And the government will say, well, we don't know, we hands off, you know, police do their business and we do our business. But at the end of the day, the government is in charge. We could jump up, we could jump down in terms of the management of this country, in whatever form or format. The police, the commissioner, everybody is accountable in some form or format. And we need to know, what is the plan? 2 years ago, they said they had a master plan. There's a big presentation in Grenville, in the cinema. I don't think nobody threw away the plan. The plan must be somewhere around. I'm happy, maybe, I don't know. I see the appointment of, I think it's ACP, a deputy, whatever it is, Jasmine Prince. I remember having an encounter with him when they were trying to restart the Pre-Delasini Committee in the Ministry of Agriculture about 3-4 years ago, and then he went off into this transport board. He's back. I'm not too sure if he might be given a special assignment on that. But the fact is, all of this, the Ministry of Agriculture had a police officer assigned there to support. I don't know if that is going on still. There's a Pre-Delasini Management Committee as specified by the Act. I'm not too sure if this committee even met in the last 2 years. And this committee is supposed to be advising the minister and doing a series of different things. The question is, what really is happening with all of these calls? All of this information is going on. People are crying. If we're not hearing that call, well, maybe it's a different language. That is the only thing. Because at least some noise is being made. Yesterday, as I said, the exporters, they are saying, what can we do among themselves? They're trying to figure out, and they say, well, we want to meet with the government, we want to meet with the police. The police farmer is saying they want to meet with the police, writing me saying, look, Senator, we need to meet with the police to see what can be done, because they're fed up. Pre-Delasini officer is calling me and say they have no transportation to move around. So what I'm saying is that, but if the farmer kill one of them, chop one of them, you'll see how quick the RRU will be moving. You'll see how quick the ambulance will be moving. Real quick, bird speed, to the point. Of course, we know farmers threaten and speak about putting things in their produce, and the truth is, farmers wouldn't do that. I mean, but it's something they would say. The fact is, that is not good public relation for the country, especially when you want to deal with export and so on. You don't want this sort of narratives. But when persons back are against the wall and they see no help is coming, they must do something to defend themselves. For some who may have alternative income, it mightn't matter. They say, well, you know, I lose some cabbage, I lose some tomatoes, I would plant more, the thief go take some. But when that is your main livelihood, you have to pay workers. This is very difficult. And so I've not seen, Madam President, any signs, no indication. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm not seeing, the farmers are not seeing any sign of help at the end of the tunnel. There is consultations and many different things. Many different things, how to solve different problems. And a lot of times we say, well, farmers police for much. Do this. Get technology. So many farmers don't even have money to even buy fertilizer. Get technology. Camera is how much? They have to get money. Where do they get any money to do that? So that there is a in fact, I don't even know seriously when last you see a Prix de Lassini force moving. I don't even see them. The farmers not even seen them. I mean, at least I've seen the traffic police, I'm seeing the Prix de Lassini wardens, I'm seeing them. It's very clear. Sometimes you see all of them stand up in one corner while it's traffic issues in another place. Like, for example, on Paradise Bridge by Pulse, you have a volunteer guy, Calvin, I think is his name, we have to recognize him. He calling traffic for the last maybe 4 months with a sign while it's Prix de Lassini traffic wardens are just there. In fact, I told one of them, I said, well, why is it you have the gentleman there when you all was there in the beginning? She said, they're not for us. Like, that is a kind of second-class kind of work. So again, what it shows is who really is in control, who is directing, who is leading, who is creating that vision about things, who is going around in the markets to check and see if the receipts and the bill books of the vendors that in our public market at least, where they getting the products from. These are basic things. And we could spend time reviewing and reviewing and reviewing. But while that is happening, people are getting frustrated. There's people who say that I will just sell me lands. And none of them may even sell it. But this pressure. And then of course, they would end up by Brother Lacrette. And you wonder how they end up there in the hospitals. How they end up by the doctor. The pressure, stress is building. And it's real. If you're not around these communities, then you wouldn't understand that. No, I've seen that. If you check my record, in fact, in this parliament, it's very clear. That's why this gentleman called me Prix de Lassini. I mean, but if you have not been following the parliament from way back when, then of course you may have missed it. But it's all available on the internet. You could search Roderick St. Clair Prix de Lassini, showing up 55 times in a Google search. It's available. So that's not new. But it means that we have not been doing anything. And if we as a parliament, we as senators, want to sit by and allow nothing to continue happening at the expense of thousands of our farmers, God forbid. I mean, we could never have a proper conscience. It's like seeing someone pining away. Not that they have cancer, but you know there is help that can be provided. And we fail to do so. And if I continue, if I have to talk about this every day, every minute, until we can see something materially tried. Because if we ask what has been tried, what has been tried in the last 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year? What has been tried? Do a matrix of what has been tried. What is the results and what are the lessons learned? Nothing. It adds to almost anything. Maybe it's something that we really cannot solve. But I don't think that our minds cannot expand. And I learned, if you don't know how, ask for help. You must have people in the world. Now that we even go into Africa, we might get some help there. But I really, really want us, and I want to preempt, Madam President, my good friend on the other side, about we can push the government and tell the government what to do, when they want to do on the agenda. I want to even preempt that, because this is not the issue. The issue is for us to think deep and take a deep conscience about what is it we can really do. If it means meeting with the farmers to get some tax, asking the police what is their problem, if the police don't have vehicle, how we can help, if they don't have enough persons there, how they can deploy. The police is not stupid. They know how to fight crimes, they study that. We don't study that. So we can go to them, sit down, and give them the empowerment. They might be laughing at me now and saying, what happened to you? You don't realize we don't have vehicle, we don't have enough persons, we're trying for this so long and nobody answering to us. The Minister for National Security is right within his space to address this urgent matter. I mean, juvenile crime, you know, that's a big issue. But this pre-adolescent is also linked to other juvenile crime, when you look at it. So this is a special appeal. Special appeal. For something to be done. For today, for us to take a step that would at least make the farmers sleep better tonight, and the thieves and potential thieves to start becoming very uneasy in their soft paws walk to thief people's stuff. Of course, we may get the report and say farmers thieving, farmers thing too. Well, we can use all of those statements and we may know that may happen here and there, but that doesn't negate the fact, Madam President, that the stealing is wrong. We could speak about strengthening the laws and all of those things, but as a farmer said to me, if you don't hold in anybody, no matter how strong your laws are, what is its purpose? And I didn't even think about that. I thought it was a very important point. So what are you saying? Start somewhere. Start somewhere. Take one step. One step to at least save the farmers. We're not asking you to buy fertilizer. We're not asking you to dig drains. We are saying, let us do something. Something. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sinclair. Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Senator Adrian Thomas. Oh, wrong man. The right man is Senator David Andrews.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to make my contribution towards this motion as presented by Honorable Roderick Sinclair. Madam President, there is no doubt that the issue of predial larceny, the theft of farmers' produce, is a challenge that must be addressed, that needs to be addressed. My father, God bless his soul, was a farmer. And we have had the unpleasant experience of having to do almost citizen's arrest. Bags of yams. People leaving with, where you have land, you'll ask them. They don't have land. They come up walking through our premise with yams. So I listen to your passionate plea and your emotional sharing, and I understand it from an experiential point of view. And I could imagine several farmers across the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique feel your passion as you outline, the reason why something must be done. And I assure you that there is nobody on the side of the government that would disagree that something has to be done. There is nobody on the side of the government that will stand against the need to address the scourge affecting farmers and subsequently our food production and food security and all of the things alluded to in the preambles in your motion. I want to register from this honorable House my personal condemnation and the government's condemnation for every person who feels it appropriate to walk into the farms of persons who put hard-earned labor and effort into their farms to remove their produce. After you plant beds and beds of ginger, or you put beds and beds of cabbages, or whatever the crop is, you nurture your saucer, and somebody comes overnight and removes it. An easy catch. That's unacceptable. And I strongly condemn it. To any Grenadian, anybody who engages in this practice, today, we ask what's been done. I strongly condemn it in this honorable House. And I know the government stands in condemnation of that too. However, as much as I agree with what Senator Sinclair presented orally, I'm not sure what he wrote says the same thing. Indeed, a motion like what Senator Sinclair has presented is very important, could be very important and needed. The spirit of the motion is well-intentioned, but I think it leaves much to be desired. As I alluded to earlier, Madam President, prix de larceny is in fact the theft of farmers' produce. And the title of the motion says, a need for effective prix de larceny enforcement by government. Prix de larceny, which is the theft of farmers' produce. The motion is saying a need, the title, on the need for effective stealing, if I should change and put the meaning, for effective stealing of farmers, for the enforcement of effective stealing of farmers' produce. Something is wrong with that language there. As much as I appreciate the intention based on his sharing and presentation of the motion, worded like that in this honorable House, I'm not sure it will stand up to linguistic scrutiny. So, I don't think the government will ever agree to enforce the stealing or the theft of farmers' produce. We have to reword, we have to redo the concept we support, the language I am challenged by, right? I don't think I would envisage that any member of the government side will enforce prix de larceny. What I'm confident will happen is the enforcement of the prix de larceny laws or the enforcement measures, the mitigation measures. So we have to do some reworking, retweaking to ensure that the language of the motion captures effectively and correctly what is intended in the spirit of the motion as articulated by Senator Sinclair. This is my submission, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator David Andrew. I offer the floor to Senator Rahman.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, we live and we learn and we travel and we see other cultures, how things are done in the way they deal with stealing. As you know, by faith, I'm a Muslim. And in Islam, there's a very, very strict approach taken. Some may consider it draconian. But it is a very strict approach that is, over 1,000 years old. And when I travel, I've traveled to Muslim countries before. I remember traveling for religious purposes to Saudi Arabia. And when it was time for prayer, all of the jewelry shops remained open. And people would go to pray, and not one ring or jewelry item would be stolen. Everything would remain open while people were praying. And there was no fear that anything would be stolen, because the punishment for stealing was so harsh. And that is convicted, that is after conviction, upon conviction. And that is to take off their right hand. Right? It may sound like a very, very difficult measure, but I assure you it works. Because nobody's want to lose their left hand after they've lost their right. I'm not saying that we should implement that here. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying to government that a lot of the laws and procedures, policies that the police force has to work with, it is too weak. A lot of it is too weak. And sometimes you're dealing with not only criminals, but you're dealing with people who are borderline mental. Because you might have a drink in the community and that's all he has to do. Everybody know he's the one that thiefing. Right? The amount of times they hold him and they beat him and he still continue to thief. Right? Many communities, the farmers will tell you who's the thief. I know this because I also am a farmer. And just this Thursday when I went on the farm, the person that I have there was complaining that he knows who's stealing the coconuts. So I have the same problem that Senator Sinclair is speaking about. So it is something that needs to be relooked at from an enforcement point of view, and maybe even new and tougher laws. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rahman. Senator Claudette Joseph, Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to urge and implore our friend and colleague representative of the farmers in this House that perhaps more dialogue, more reaching across the aisle might yield greater support for these motions, because as my colleague, Senator Andrew mentioned, we all abhor the scourge, I would call it, of predial larceny. We are either, in this House, we have quite a few farmers who are victims, and if we are not farmers, we all know farmers who suffer tremendously. And we acknowledge and accept that more needs to be done. Measures to mitigate, whether you're talking enhancing the legislative framework or enhancing enforcement mechanism against people who commit predial larceny. We all accept that a lot has to be done, and we intend to do what needs to be done to tackle this problem. I think from all our representations in this Honorable House so far, I think our colleagues in this House and the public will accept, even some who do not want to accept, will be forced to accept that we are generally on these matters, in these key sectors, are on the right track and pointed in the right direction. But as they say, Rome was not built in a day. So we ought not to be expected to mend in 10 or 11 months that which was not mended in 20 years. And perhaps I might be a little unfair in saying that, and maybe the public does expect us to mend these matters in 10 months that were not mended in 20 or 30 years, because we did so with the pension problem. So perhaps we are expected to do so with other matters, but some matters will take a little longer and would require a lot more direct participation and cooperation of the general public. So, to the good senator representing the farmers, we are all on the same side. We are all in the struggle, the same struggle. And it really puts us in a difficult and invidious position when motions that we might otherwise be inclined to support, we are constrained not to. Because, Madam President, the resolution itself on the floor, and I'm reading from the motion, Madam President, be it resolved that the Senate supports the following. Quite apart from the heading, the Senate supports the following: that the government reviews the current state of predial larceny enforcement measures. Predial larceny enforcement, so you're strengthening predial larceny. Reviews the current state of predial larceny enforcement measures and provide the Senate with key plans and recommendations that will implement to improve the current situation, and that situation again is predial larceny enforcement. Which is why I say, Madam President, in this Honorable House, that it will be far more productive and we can all work together to better serve the farmers who are our constituents, who are the constituents of the good senator, so we all represent the farmers. It will serve all of us and our constituents better if we hold hands and work together. Because when we are literally ambushed with these motions that obviously do not say what is intended, we are put in a position where, while we understand where you're coming from, we can't support what's before us. That's all we're saying. And then you have an invitation. I don't know if it's an invitation, a subtle invitation extended to the media to put out a headline saying we in support a motion that was against predial larceny. But this motion here, I wanted media to listen. This motion here supports predial larceny, the way it's worded. We know that's not what the good senator intended, but that's what the motions before us say. So what do we do with that, Madam President? The other aspect of the resolution before us is the formation of a committee of 3 to 5 members of the Senate to provide parliamentary support and oversight for the implementation of government's proposed plans and programs. Not a bad idea, but not an idea you ambush your colleague members with on the floor. Not a bad idea, but it's an idea that would require prior conversations and buy-in from colleagues, in my humble view. So I really, and I speak in a kind of personal way now, I really do not, and I'm sure I speak for my other colleagues on both sides, relish or like being put in this position where you generally support the sentiment, but you cannot support the motion as tabled. And I think there's an easy fix for that: more conversation. Because I think it's clear by now, we are on the same side. We are fighting the same struggle. We are working together for the people of Grenada, including the farmers. The leader of government business, who is the Minister of Agriculture, has said enough over the last 10 months since we started sitting in this honorable house. And the government has sufficiently, by its actions, demonstrated its commitment to the farmers, to all the people. So I think the senator well knows that we can work together, and it will help if we communicate before, so we can have motions that we can all support. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Joseph. Since Senator Neelan Franklin would like to answer, I offer you the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would just like to make some brief comments on the motion as presented and respond to some of the things I heard from the government side. Madam President, this is not the first time a motion like this has been brought to this honorable house, and definitely we've all seen the motion before. The term ambush was used as though this is the first time the motion has been brought and the first time we've seen it. My view is simply this. The government, or the members on the government side, have displayed the propensity to bob and weave around issues, simple issues. If the issue with this motion is the wording of the motion, the same way I saw it, everybody else saw it, and the Honorable Senator, the Honorable Attorney General extended that the farmers' representative should have simply made a call or reach across the aisle. It goes both ways. If you noticed it before, then a simple call could have been made to the Honorable Gentleman and say, we understand the issue of Predia Lasny. We understand the need in his capacity as the farmers' representative to bring motions like these before the Honorable House for redress. We understand. In good faith, I would like to say to you, make these minor changes. But no, they waited until the motion was presented in the Honorable House and made a big issue about it, why they cannot support grandstanding. If we are truly in this for the farmers and representing the farmers' interests, a simple call could have been made before to the Honorable Gentleman and say, let's make the necessary changes before. But it goes both, Madam President, respectfully, it goes both ways. You understand? If the honorable members on the opposite side saw the issue, a simple call could have been made to the Honorable Gentleman to make the amendments. As the youngest member in this House, Madam President, I often find myself having to behave like the adult sometimes. But let them shout across the aisle.
Thank you, Senator Franklin. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I really didn't want to speak on Predia Lasny again because I've been constantly bombarded in the Senate on the issue of Predia Lasny. And I want to assure Senator Neelan Franklin that no disrespect to you, no disrespect. If ever you heard us speaking or referring to your statement, it was just to keep you informed in terms of how things can happen when you say going both ways. But no disrespect to you, we respect you, right? And we don't look at you as a child. You're a big man. I think you have beard in your face and your voice break already. Madam President, I want to commend the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association. In the last couple weeks, I received correspondence from the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association highlighting some legislative issues in the ordinance, the document that guide that organization. They reach out to the minister and invite me to have a dialogue. And as a matter of fact, Madam President, the letter came from the manager of GCNA for me to sit down and dialogue about improving the ordinance of the GCNA. I welcome that and I feel good. I didn't see it in the press for the first time, or I didn't hear it in the Senate. Came on my desk, and I'm in dialogue with the relevant people in the Ministry of Agriculture. I said to the Senator this morning, I want to bring it to the attention of the Prime Minister. So when I speak with authority. If we look at this resolution, Madam President, be it resolved, the Senate support be it resolved that the Senate support the following: the formation of a committee of 3 to 5 members of the Senate to provide parliamentary support and oversight for the implementation of government's proposed plan and recommendations. I have to sit down in the cabinet and negotiate that. Yeah, and inform and maybe dictate to my cabinet colleagues that, well, that came from the Senate, you all have to abide. It would have been all nice for we to sit down in cabinet and discuss the issue. And after we discuss the issue and we agree, I can then still give the senator the opportunity to present for the credit. Would not take it. But Madam President, things does not work so. The poultry farmers have reached out to me, and we are talking and we are having dialogue, and we are putting a system in place. Friday coming will be our last meeting in-house, and we'll be going out and meet with the stakeholders. And the farmers who have the infrastructure for poultry production in Grenada will be dialoguing with them. The importers of poultry meat will be meeting with them. And that will be in a couple of weeks' time. And let me tell you something, Madam President. Let me say to the House that the PM is so conscious of agriculture, the Prime Minister of this country. He has personally gotten involved in many aspects of agriculture. He wants to see this industry move on. I myself, Madam President, have been a victim of predial larceny. I was in my land picking up nutmeg prior to Ivan, and up came this young lady. She didn't see me, walked straight up to me. I said, "Hey, what you doing there?" She said, not your nutmeg alone, I pick up it. I said, "I don't care. I'm bringing it to the police this morning." Well, I brought her to the police, 20 pounds of nutmegs. Police kept her in the station. She got on bail. She got bail. But I was picking up nutmeg too. And I bring down my nutmeg. I didn't have time to miss it. Put her on the side of the house. Next morning I get up that gun too. Because she got bail same day. For 2 years, I worked the courthouse. 2 years. She was charged $200 and she walked away smiling. But for the rest of the year, I get a green and nutmeg in the back of my hand. I understand that. because I feel it. Madam President, the legislations we have is too weak. So when this good senator going to say to me that he's going to preempt what I'm going to say about the legislation review, yes, preempt that, because that's a fact. And this administration do not feel to hire a lawyer to deal with agricultural legislation is too much, because we know the investment we will reap good benefits from it. So yes, you could preempt me, because this is a factor we're going to invest in improving the legislation in the agricultural sector. No doubt about that. We cannot continue trying to solve predial larceny by having policemen trying to track down people, when the people in the community, really and truly, we have not mobilized them or educated them to change their mindset, to cooperate with the police. Police passing there, you see the gentleman passing, no, me I see him. And everybody see him, you know. Somebody gave him a beer and they see walking on there, but they would not report it. We have to change the mindset. And we're gonna get there. What is the need to be hurrying? The good senator highlighted, Madam President, that for the last 5, 4, 3, 2 years, nothing has been done. 10 months, miracle must happen, and the farmers, based on what I'm saying here today, the farmers are going to sleep good tonight. That wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen just like that. And don't read transformation in that light, comrade. Transformation means much more than that. Transformation means even going to Africa and sit down with Afrexim Bank and discussing. They ain't rich yet, but we're discussing. We just passed the act. They may take another 2-3 months to come. And then we go see benefits in the next couple of years. Madam President, I had the opportunity to call some of my colleagues in the Caribbean, because we meet on a regular basis, especially OECS ministers. And it's amazing what they are going through in regards to predial larceny. Grenada is no exception. But I would not sit as minister responsible for agriculture, lands, fisheries, forestry, cooperatives, and do nothing about it. The Commissioner of Police can testify. As a matter of fact, I had the privilege to meet the former commissioner and now the acting commissioner to discuss predial larceny. I had the privilege to sit down with the commissioner of prison to discuss predial larceny and how, when thieves are being caught and end up in prison, I want to find out what is the daily routine. Are they sitting on only 3 square meals a day? Are they working to feed themselves and earn enough to compensate the farmers for who they are put in distress? I need to get all this information. So we're not coming here to grandstand anything, Madam President. We mean serious business. In weeks to come, Madam President, we will be expecting a fleet of motorbikes in Grenada. In weeks to come, we are still exploring the possibility of getting in the digital business to assist farmers. So if we want to get up in the morning and see everything perfect, I'm saying to you, Senator, through you, Madam President, things don't work like that. We're going to get there. The very first day I drove up in the Botanical Gardens and I look at the ministerial complex, see what an eyesore. Took us a while. After 2 weeks, people were saying, you all need to paint the building. Oh God, we couldn't paint it that. We're so close. But oh God, to drive up there now is a pleasure. It looks good. I've met public workers in the system. When this administration came into office, their facial expression indicated stress. When this administration said, and we campaign and we're going to pay the pension, they still didn't believe, so they were still under stress. We got into office, Madam President, and we told the public we're going to pay the pension. And it's when we pay the pension, people face that. But we couldn't do it 2 weeks after, or 3 weeks after. This administration care about people. This administration care about the farmers and the fisher folk. We understand the role that they have to play in this transformational period. We understand the contribution that will be coming from them. And hence the reason why when we speak of health and education and agriculture, we understand. And if we speak in agriculture so high up on the agenda, we will be foolish not to take care of the 10,000 farmers in this country. So Madam President, it is not nice to stand up in this house and accuse the government of not doing anything in regards to Priti Alassey. And I'm speaking in the context of the sentiments expressed by my colleagues here and those on the other side, but not in the context of the motion that's been presented. And while we are to be blamed for the way the motion is being presented, I'm not accepting that as leader of government business in the house. That's not our problem. This has been presented more than maybe 2 months. And any adjustment, I don't know, and I cannot make any assumption what is the intention of the good senator. So it's only this morning when he started to speak, I realized it was contrary to what has been written here. So, Madam President, as leader of government business, we cannot support a motion of that nature.
I thank the leader of government business, Senator Thomas. And I offer the floor to Senator Roderick Sinclair.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to start by acknowledging the robust, passionate, emotional, informative, committed, I must say, statements by all the members regarding this important matter. Whilst, of course, it's very clear that the leader of government business has put the gavel on the decision as the senior leader of the party, that we cannot support this motion at this time. Well, party meaning not political party, of the group, of entourage, right? The fact is, the issues surrounding it is well recognized by each of us. I'm not looking for no headlines. I make enough headlines in my life. I don't need no media presence. I made enough of that in my life. That is, I don't need that. And I don't need to aspire any further such that I need headlines. There is a saying that goes, don't shoot the messenger, but think about the message. Not all Bibles have the cover page, or what you call the book cover. So when they use it so much, the cover page start to fall out. You don't even know if it's a Bible. But you take them and you read the words of the God and then listen. So I say this to say that we can get technical and speak about whether enforcement is before Priti Alassey or whether it's after. Those are simple amendments as the owner of the motion that I can adopt and amend in discussion as a title page. The fundamental point about reviewing the state of affairs. Because do we really know the state of affairs? We may say, well, it's 6 months and 10 months and 8 months and 9 months. The truth is, Madam President, I think we're missing the point. It's not about how much years. Now, I could see a pipe leaking, and they could say, well, why that pipe leaking 10 years now? Or is he always leaking? One day, there'll be no water in that pipe. I say this to say, depending on how we orient our minds, we may end up getting the results. So it's a word of caution and wisdom. I know this is not the intention, but if we keep singing that type of rhythm, we could end up on that road. The issue about ambush, I was shocked because, especially for the listening public, need to understand, questions are submitted way in advance. Motions are there way in advance. In fact, they are reviewed, they are seen. Leader of government business must see it. Otherwise, there is no business. How he prepares and strategizes with his team and approach things is all up to him. Of course, I'm hearing loudly that we want to have dialogue, and maybe I need to have a motion for us to have dialogue and see what the result of that motion would be. I don't think that motion would ever be supported. But next session, we will form a motion on that, because what we are trying to say is to work together at this level, because there are a lot of issues. That is what we're calling for. But it seems that we're afraid. If we meet in this context, Madam President, it is a more official mechanism of engagement and structure than meeting what I would call in that other kind of way. It's not a proper way. It's like meeting in the corridors, which we could do, the senator knows. But you see, for good order, we must do things in a certain way. So, I'm hearing that this very motion, by changing where enforcement should be, okay, and taking that motion and write to the leader of government business and his team and say, look, we want to discuss this thing. We want to make this and have some real support to change Preya Lasini, that they will support it. That is what I heard. That is what I heard. That meet with us, have a dialogue, we will discuss it. Bring it over. And to use a little bit of language, just change enforcement and make it enforcement Preya Lasini. And we will support the motion. That is what I heard. And if I didn't hear that, then I'm stand corrected. I didn't hear that. But that is the issue, is that we are willing to support this motion if we have a dialogue on this matter. That is what I heard. In this regard, Madam President, in this regard, I want to, in this regard, I will take this motion I'll convert it to a letter, which I will send to the Honorable Leader of Government Business and copy to you to have a dialogue on this matter and report back to you accordingly the outcome of this matter.
I thank you.
This is what I want to propose. Based on what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing wrong, then we could take it to the vote. If I didn't hear it right, then I'm prepared. Once I'm hearing it right, I'm prepared to go that way. If I didn't hear it that way, then we take it to the vote. So the Leader of Government Business could so advise.
Thank you, Senator Sinclair. Thank you for your flexibility. The Leader of Government Business is seeking the floor, and you have it, sir.
Yes, Madam President. For the sake of the public, I think I should make that statement because what the Senator has outlined there in regards to what he's hearing is that we are prepared to support the motion once we edit his motion. We said much more than that. We support the spirit. We want to make sure that we solve the problem of pre-death larceny in this country. And we have to make that very, very clear. And I also inform the House. I get the impression that the Senator is saying to the public, nothing is happening in Grenada. But I said to this Honorable House where we are going. In his statement, Senator did not remember what I said that we are doing. You need to remember those things. And Madam President, I also highlighted in many of my statements that a number of organizations within the farming community has been reaching out to me, not as Leader of Government Business in the Senate, but as the minister responsible for that important industry. It's in that capacity. So when the Senator reiterates that you're going to take the motion and put it into writing and write me as Leader of Government Business, I don't know if this is being treated differently. This is not what my invitation was, Madam President, so I want to clarify that. Because many of the times the questions are addressed to me in the capacity as Minister responsible for agriculture. And it's in that light I extend the invitation, and it's still open. As a matter of fact, I want to tell this Honorable House, Madam President, on a daily basis, 80% of my meetings are with farmers and other people in the community who just walk in. And I accommodate them. Ministers can testify here that they have advised some of their colleagues in the public that if you want to catch Senator Thomas, come in by 7:30. You want to catch him before he starts his day work. And I accommodate people. So, Senator, the invitation is yours. And if you want it to be 7 o'clock, I'd be happy to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Thomas. I understand that the motion will have an action from Senator Sinclair, and therefore we will not proceed with a vote on it today, as I understand. That's acceptable, or is it?
Yes, I think the word is Minister for Agriculture, not Leader of Government Business, which of course I clearly understand. So I think that seems to be the spirit, to change the word to Minister for Agriculture. That is I mean, unless I'm hearing really, really wrong.
Madam President, am I interpreting that we're not voting on the motion?
Sinclair can give us this answer.
Is withdrawn?
No, what I said is that, based on what I am hearing, is that I was going to take the motion, write to the Minister of Agriculture, in the context of the motion, for which then, as the issue of discussion can take place, as per the motion and other matters, to come up with a way forward. I'm saying that if that is not really a welcome approach, now this 7 o'clock meeting, 7:30 in the morning, in this I'm talking about a structured engagement, then we may as well vote on it and save ourselves this opportunity.
Thank you. Let me see. I recall at the last session on the two other motions on the agenda, on the order paper today, I've clearly requested, if not instructed, you two gentlemen representing in an honorable way your two constituencies to have an informal dialogue on these common issues that you keep bringing up here again and again in the Senate. Perhaps I have to go further. I'm waiting for the report as we proceed on the last two items. So I won't preempt it, but I would say regarding the Praedial Larceny motion that if you need good offices, the office of the President or anyone else who wants to offer is available to you. Senator Sinclair has offered to change language. Senator Thomas has offered an invitation. I think that's progress from where we have been over these past months. So the third contribution to this is the offer of good offices. I won't meet at 7:30, and I won't meet for 10 minutes. But I think there's a goodwill here in the Senate, certainly from the Office of the President, that we can meet. I can facilitate your dialogue towards your resolution. If that is acceptable to you both, I would invite you, Senator Sinclair, to suspend further action on the motion. I hope I'm not using a loaded word. I didn't want to use the word withdraw. Suspend. Rest the motion for now until such a meeting occurs, and I will take responsibility to convene the meeting. Is that acceptable to you both?
I am okay with the suggestion.
I thank you, Senator Sinclair. Senator Thomas? I know you have to consult your administration.
Yes, I do, Madam President.
I mean, he can bring his team if he wants, you know. It's okay. He can bring his team if he wants.
Senator, Leader of Government Business, sir.
Madam President, thank you very much. The debate that took place on this motion, particularly on this side, is that we are not prepared to support the motion as is. We are prepared to vote on the motion, but with due respect to the Senate, we are also prepared to, as you have asked, Senator Sinclair, to suspend and cease coming forward with the motion. But I also want to tell the House that this pretty subject has been and continues to be high on the agenda of the Ministry of Agriculture. For the last 6, 7, 8 months, we have been saying to the House that we are putting systems and mechanisms in place. I announced some of the things that we have already done. And therefore, Madam President, I foresee that any attempt to take instructions from the Senate to impose on the government on a subject matter that you have been dealing with and you have a plan for, I foresee it as being a bit unfair. And therefore, with due respect to your advice, I would have preferred that we vote on the motion. I have no problem. The invitation is all open to sit down and talk. That is my responsibility as a minister responsible for agriculture. I have no problem with that.
Thank you, Senator Rahman.
Madam President, I just want to suggest something. Perhaps they could do both. So if they do meet, and after they meet, then whatever recommendations come out of that meeting, Senator Thomas takes it to Cabinet, and then Cabinet gives their approval or change to it. Then they can come back and discuss it, and that's how he's going to get his motion passed. Not directly, but at the end of the day, it's the result he's interested in. And that's how it's going to be done. So it has to be done through Cabinet, their government. And so they can't make unilateral decisions, I suppose, on the fly like that. But definitely through consultation, that same consultation that has been agreed upon here, or spoken about, or agreed upon because he accepted, they do meet, take whatever he has to, discuss whatever they have to discuss, then bring it to Cabinet, Cabinet approves it or tweaks it, bring it back, they agree, and it's done. Then they have the changes that everybody wants to see.
Thank you, Senator Rahman. For clarification, the offer of good offices is simply around the procedure. How shall we proceed in the Senate? It is not to decide on the content or strategy of the motion. It's to seek a procedural, and the conversation is actually going to be determined by the principals. I'm simply a convener and facilitator if the offer is attractive. If it's not, that's fine. So I understand the proposal now is we go to the vote, at least one of the two parties has said yes to the meeting, and one was, I'm not sure if we have a formal call for the vote. I see consultations taking place. So halt and let them continue for a minute. Senator Sinclair.
So are we saying that we having a vote on the motion? That's one. Are we saying that we're having a vote on the motion and we'd also have a dialogue? Are we saying we're going to have a dialogue and then based on the dialogue we find a common path and come back here? Just for clarity, and this is for clarity, there is no right and wrong answers to this. So you gotta have how much points to score. It's just, and it's not about whether or not, Madam President, about whether the motion win a vote, I doesn't win a vote per se. It's a matter of discussing and using the parliamentary process to go through things properly, and it will come to an end where it has to come to an end. That's so it don't come to an end prematurely and it disappear with no proper process. I think that is what I think everybody would want to see.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Senator. Senator Adrian Thomas.
Madam President, I rise to, I think Senator got it right the very first time, and I want to endorse that we vote on the motion and the meeting is open to discuss the subject matter pretty elastically.
This is what I interpreted, so that's why I gave those options to be clear.
The motion has been made and seconded much earlier on in discussion, so now I think we have a call now for debate on Prager larceny. Floor is open.
It's a vote. It's a vote, Madam President. That's where we are now.
Well, is there you called for discussion?
No, for the call for a vote on the motion as presented, and then the invitation is open for a meeting on the subject matter of Prager larceny.
Which the discussion has nothing to do with the motion. It's an agreement outside of the motion here. I understand that very clearly.
Honorable House, Senators, the question is that there is a need for effective Prager larceny enforcement by government to protect our farmers and our food security. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion fails. Senator St. Clair, you have two other motions on the floor.
Yes, Madam President, these other two motions, well, to me, were presented by myself, Julie, and of course we had what I would say was the contributions from the government side. I see the notes inside of the other paper pertaining to no vote was taken, as is a normal practice, to close the motion. You give, well, instructions, as the notes say, that the parties should meet, and of course, if you look at the Hansard, and if you just rewind for the last 10 minutes, you would realize that the message is consistent in these matters. It wasn't a matter of wording this time, it was a matter of check the Hansard and we'll see what it says. So for closure, I want to suggest and recommend that these two motions be voted on for the records. So it's noted. I think that is the process, notwithstanding the other discussions that took place towards the end of that previous motion that we just discussed.
Thank you, Senator. I want to recall that these motions have been duly seconded. And now we put the first one before the Honorable House. And it's a motion requesting government, the question is that this motion requesting government to lift the sanctions for young registered farmers and fisher folks under 25 years to obtain a D-class driver's license is now being put to the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The nay has it. Motion fails. Next motion. Senator Sinclair, the motion seeking the urgent action by the Minister for Agriculture to issue an order.
Yes, this second motion, which was discussed in our last session, spoke of the urgent need for the Minister for Agriculture to issue an order to amend the agriculture crop compensation schedule, which dates back to 1995. This was duly presented, and of course, it is for the vote to collect from the order paper for futures.
Honorable House, the motion before us is that this Senate supports the motion seeking the urgent action by the Minister for Agriculture to issue an order to amend the agricultural crop compensation schedule, which dates back to 1995. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Noes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I rise to beg for the adjournment of this House. Sign it.
Senator Sinclair.
Yeah, Madam President, I wish to make some comments on the adjournment. Please, if you may permit me. Thank you. It's a few items, not necessarily in order of priority, but of course we know we have Corpus Christi this Thursday, and this is the time when not only farmers, but our household is a tradition. After church, we'd come out and plant the corn and peas or some other crop, and so I want to use this opportunity to give that blessings and encouragement as a nation in that regards. I want to also further use the opportunity to note the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association is just about finishing 1 year of celebrations for its 75th year of existence. There's a series of activities that took place, school quiz, farm competition, etc. And of course, 75 years is what we call almost old age in pension this time. Of course, it has gone through its lot of ups and downs, and of course, we have to find ways to continue to improve it and regenerate it. It's not like an individual which grow older, but the businesses, you know, you can re-engineer and improve. So I want to share this. Also, we had, you know, we don't have to be always speaking about death when we come to the parliament, but we have, you know, some significant individuals, I may not call all. I mean, for example, Reginald Body up in the North General who passed away. Even my good partner and debate partner, George Harford, who also was the chairman of the MNIB Technical Working Group. May his soul rest in peace. In that regard, he have been working with many farmers, and I know they themselves would even been distressed in finding markets for the produce, particularly ripened bananas. And of course, Ms. Doyle Douglas out of Paradise, a soldier farmer who have been battling cancer and so on for the past few years. So I wanted to make some comment there. I also wanted to congratulate the folks with the CMOS, Grenada CMOS, commercial CMOS producers. They have been working for the last 2-3 years within COVID, trying to get a group together, Jude and the guys out in Good Hope, and of course with the assistance by the government, particularly focusing on various areas, including CMOS. We look forward for that young and upstart group to really move forward, because CMOS is a what you call a superfood, you know, where it has all the different minerals and so on. And of course, the last point I want to make, and I make it in the context of my good friend Senator Lacrette, I must say, which we had a long conversation on Wednesday pertaining to what I call, I won't say disturbing, but the whole matter surrounding our whole healthcare system and the repeated experiences I've had. I share some of my thoughts with him, which we collaborated in our thoughts, and I trust that they will take action. You know, for too long, the whole system of how the doctors, as I told him sometime, I had a situation whereby on about 2 Saturdays back, I had someone close to me, and they was under pain, the different scans and so on, Thursday, Friday. Went to the hospital on the Saturday in pain, and the doctor said, well, you know, come Tuesday morning, we'll tell you what's going on. But by midday on Sunday, the person passed away without even knowing what the results were. So this is not the type of care we need, and we both shared and understand that in a lot of cases, the arrangement for the employment with our specialists and so on is not at best. And so those things, not that the doctor is bad-minded per se, but based on the employment arrangement. And so we had that discussion, and it's not something I would do because I've had different experiences, but I thought on Saturday I had to reach out to because you don't just lose lives like that. You know, we don't lose lives like that. And I urge for us to find ways. If we need to go to Africa to get some more nurses, we need to find ways to, if we need a car, some of us, we import some of the best cell phones, the best shoes, the best ties. But if we need to have doctors and we don't have enough, let's import them to save lives. If we don't have enough nurses, let's import them to save lives. In the now, whereas we put systems in place to ensure that whatever arrangement these folks go through in scholarships and so on, that they come back to serve. I mean, we may not have all the equipment, but I would say we have a fairly well within this country in terms of laboratories and equipment to do a fair amount of what needs to be done. But I'm worried, Madam President. Sickness is something that don't take vacation. So when these doctors say come on Tuesday morning, because Sunday is a holiday and Monday was a holiday, I pray that I didn't get sick during those days. Sickness, most time is happen late in the night, early in the morning, on holidays and those times. And we need to find a way to address those. I'm comforted by the Senator's response, and he knows that, as I told him, it's a matter that we'll speak about. So don't be thin-skinned and take it personal, but I'm there to help and support in whatever way on those matters, because more and more persons, after I repeat my stories, but just telling me more and more stories, and I was like, you can't be for real. I don't think all is lost, but we need to put the systems in place. And those who are manning the systems, because we understand that the ministers and the senators, whoever they are, they're not there day-to-day managing those things. But we have to ensure that we put systems to make sure that these folks are accountable, because today is me, tomorrow is Brother Haman, the next day might be you. Our farmers. They're elderly. They need to feel safe, feel secure that if they get sick, something will happen. Sometimes it could be their children or their wife or their son. And those delays and also anxieties also disturb our productivity, the time you have to take away from those things. So I really implore that we look at it. We could speak about putting a new hospital, but that wouldn't change the doctors not being there 12 o'clock and on a holiday and on a weekend. The system is what we need to ensure. So I want to keep my comments very modest and moderate in this regards, but I trust that something can be done, Brother Lacret. I know we had a long discussion, and I think you know deep where my mind is, and there. I might not go on the third shift with you, but I'm there with this matter deep down inside me. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank you.
$3,000 every week for 3 months.
What?
Yes, it's the NLA's Crazy Cash Giveaway Promotion. Every week from April 11th to June 30th, 3 lucky Daily Games customers will randomly win $1,000 each week. Imagine winning as much as $36,000 in 12 weeks.
How?
Spend $12 in a single purchase on Daily Cash 4, Daily Pick 3, or Playway. Look for the words Cash Winner on your tickets to collect $1,000. The more you spend $12 on your favorite daily games, the more chances you have to win. Must be 18 or older to participate. All prizes must be collected by July 7th, 2023. Other terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Money. Hello viewers and listeners, this is the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Pick 3 Midday Draw. It is Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson. Supervising the draw is Ms. Giselle Alexander, who is representing PKF Accountants and Business Advisors. Just to give you a quick reminder, as usual, there are 4 different bet types in this game from which you can choose. They're called in line, mix, pair, and backup. It pays to play Daily Pick 3. Let's see if you are a lucky winner. Good luck to you. Second number, 1, final number, 7. Alright, so just to recap for your benefit, our first number is 8, that's followed by 1, and the final number is 7. So congratulations if you are a lucky winner. We say congratulations as well to our 45 Daily Pick 3 winners from our mid-morning draw. The total payout was $7,910. The Play with Draw is up next. We'll see you soon. Hello once again, this is the National Lotteries Authority's Playway Midday Draw for today, Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson. With me once again is Ms. Giselle Alexander, representing PKF Accountants and Business Advisors. In this game, you can bet from $1 up to $10, or you can bet in increments on any number or dream symbol of your choice, and being with a chance to win 24 times the amount you bet. That is $24 for every $1 that you spend. Value your dreams and win your way with Playway. Let's see if you are a lucky winner. Good luck to you. Again, our Playway number is 23 and the dream symbol is rat. Congratulations if you are a lucky winner. We head over now to our multi-X draw. You have the opportunity in this draw to win yourself 2 times, 3 times, or even as much as 5 times the amount that you bet on your winning Playway number. Good luck to you. X ball is a free play, so congratulations to you, and we say congratulations as well to our 251 Playway and multi-X winners from our mid-morning draw. Total payout was $23,184. Stay with us, the Daily Cash 4 is up next. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. This is the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Cash 4 Midday Draw for today, Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. I'm your draw hostess, Leslie Ann Johnson. Back with me once again, Ms. Giselle Alexander. She's representing PKF Accountants and Business Advisors. In this game, you can choose any number from 0 to 9 in any of the 11 bet types offered. Tickets cost as little as $1. Backup costs $2. More players, bigger prizes. Let's play Daily Cash 4. Good luck to you. Alright, our first number 5, the second number 8, third number 6, final number 7. Okay, just to recap for your benefit, our first number is 5, followed by 8, the next number is 6, and the final is 7. So that's 5, 8, 6, and 7. Congratulations, of course, if you are a lucky winner. We say congratulations as well to our 4 Daily Cash 4 winners from our mid-morning draw. Total payout $800. Continue supporting the National Lotteries Authority. Have a great afternoon.
Is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.